Number 1. Cameron Boyce. If you grew up on Disney, Cameron felt like family. He could be mischievous, sweet, and hilarious in the same breath on Jessie, and he brought real heart to the Descendants movies. Off camera, he cared deeply about giving back, using his platform to support causes he believed in. When he died at 20 after a seizure connected to epilepsy, fans everywhere felt the shock instantly. His kindness off-screen was just as powerful as his talent on it. Number 2. River Phoenix. River never came across like a manufactured teen idol. In Stand By Me, he made quiet bravery look effortless, and in later roles he carried a raw intensity that hinted at greatness still ahead. He also spoke passionately about animals and the environment, which made him feel real, not just famous. His death at 23 stunned Hollywood and left a permanent what-if hanging in the air. People still wonder what kind of artist he might have become. Number 3. Brittany Murphy. Brittany had that rare gift of being totally lovable and totally fearless. From Clueless to her later dramatic roles, she could switch from bubbly to heartbreaking without losing her spark. She started working young and kept pushing herself, even when the industry tried to box her in. She died at 32, and the confusion around her passing only made the loss feel heavier for fans. There was always something uniquely magnetic about her presence. Number 4. Corey Haim. Corey was the face of 1980s teen stardom, the kind of kid who made audiences feel like they were in on the adventure. He began acting young and became a household name through films that still define that era. But growing up famous can be brutal, and his struggles followed him for years. He died at 38, leaving behind memories that feel both fun and painfully sad. His story shows how hard it can be to outgrow a childhood spotlight. Number 5. Anton Yelchin. Anton started acting as a child, then grew into the kind of performer who made everything feel honest. He could lead a blockbuster like Star Trek and still come across as the thoughtful outsider you root for. Friends described him as creative and kind, and his fans felt that in every role. He died at 27 in a tragic accident, and his absence still feels unreal. So many believe his greatest performances were still ahead of him. Number 6. Naya Rivera. Naya was performing before most kids even learned to sit still, and that early confidence showed in everything she did. On Glee, she made Santana sharp, funny, and vulnerable, and she helped many viewers feel seen for the first time. She also had a voice that could stop a scene cold. She died at 33 in a drowning accident, and the grief around it lingered. Her voice and confidence changed lives in ways statistics never show. Number 7. Jonathan Brandis. For many people, Jonathan was the crush of the 1990s, with a face that instantly fit adventure stories. He was the young Bill in it and a standout on Sequest DSV, and he seemed headed for a long run. But the pressure of fame and career uncertainty can hit hard when you are still young. He died at 27, and fans still revisit his work with a heavy heart. He carried the weight of expectation long before he was ready. Number 8. Brad Renfro. Brad arrived like lightning at 11 in The Client, holding his own beside seasoned stars. He had a gritty, fearless presence that made you believe him, even when the story got dark. As he grew older, the industry expectations and personal struggles became part of the headline more than his talent. He died at 25, leaving behind performances that prove how special he was. Even now, critics revisit his early work with deep respect. Number 9. Heather O'Rourke. Heather became unforgettable as Carol Ann in Poltergeist, the little girl at the center of a nightmare. She had a sweetness that made the horror feel even more intense, because you wanted her safe. Behind the scenes, she was still just a kid, and her death at 12 from sudden medical complications shocked everyone. Her story is a reminder that life can change in a single day. Her single line in Poltergeist is still quoted decades later. Number 10. Judith Barsi. This is her last recorded line. Judith gave voice to childhood for so many of us, especially as Ducky in The Land Before Time. Her delivery was pure joy, the kind that makes you smile without thinking. What makes her story unbearable is that her real life was filled with fear at home. She was killed at 10 along with her mother, and her bright voice remains a heartbreaking echo. Knowing her story makes her joyful performances even more heartbreaking. Number 11, Gary Coleman. Gary was small in size, but huge in impact. Different strokes turned him into a cultural icon, and that catchphrase became a piece of television history. Yet behind the laughs were lifelong health issues and battles over money and control that no child should deal with. He died at 42 after a fall and complications. His story shows how fame can fade while the consequences stay. His catchphrase remains part of pop culture history. Number 12, Donna Plato. Donna played Kimberly on Different Strokes, and she brought a mix of warmth and teenage edge that audiences loved. Like many young stars, she found that growing up in public can magnify every mistake and every struggle. Her adult years were marked by chaos and constant attention for the wrong reasons. She died at 34, and her life remains a cautionary tale about what early fame can cost. Fame followed her, even when stability did not. Number 13, Lee Thompson Young. Lee became a Disney favorite as the famous Jet Jackson, and he handled that spotlight with a calm maturity. Unlike many child stars, he kept working steadily into adulthood, building a solid career on shows like Rizzoli and Isles. But private battles do not always show on camera. He died at 29, and the tributes that followed made it clear how loved and respected he was. Those who worked with him described him as deeply thoughtful. Number 14, Sawyer Sweeten. Sawyer grew up in front of us on Everybody Loves Raymond, part of a sitcom family that felt surprisingly real. Viewers watched him go from a toddler to a teenager, and that familiarity made the news of his death hit differently. It felt personal, like losing someone from your weekly routine. He died at 19, leaving fans stunned by how quickly a familiar face can be gone. Growing up on screen can blur the line between actor and family. Number 15, Skye McCole Bartisiak. Skye stood out in The Patriot, the little girl whose emotions could break your heart with a single look. She kept acting through childhood and into her teens, chasing a future that still seemed wide open. Her death at 21 was a shock, and it reminded people how fragile stability can be for young performers. Even in short roles, she left an impression that stayed. She had a quiet emotional depth beyond her years. Number 16, Matthew Garber. Matthew played Michael Banks in Mary Poppins, one of the most replayed family films of all time. He captured that mix of skepticism and wonder that makes the story work, and he became part of cinematic history before he could even drive. Years later, people still recognize his face the moment the music starts. He died at 21 after illness-related complications, making the film feel bittersweet. For many, he will always be part of childhood movie nights. Number 17, Bobby Driscoll. Bobby was one of Disney's earliest child stars, and he voiced Peter Pan with pure confidence and adventure. As a kid, he won major recognition, but as he grew older, the industry moved on fast, and the transition was harsh. His story is often described as what happens when the spotlight shuts off without support. He died at 31, far from the fairy tale world audiences associate with his voice. His life became one of Hollywood's earliest cautionary tales. Number 18, Rob Knox. Rob stepped into the Harry Potter universe as Marcus Belby, and for a young actor, that kind of role can change everything. He was still building his career when his life was taken at 18 during a violent incident while trying to protect someone else. Fans mourned not just the talent, but the bravery and the unfairness of the moment. His story hurts because it ends before the next chapter could begin. His courage that night is something fans never forget. Number 19, Josh Ryan Evans. Josh brought a unique charm to his roles, especially on the soap Passions, where viewers connected to him for years. He lived with serious health challenges from birth, yet still built a career that made people smile. In one of the cruelest coincidences, an episode involving his character aired the same day he died. He passed away at 20 during a medical procedure, leaving fans stunned by the timing and the loss. He proved that limitations do not define talent. Number 20. Michelle Thomas. Michelle began acting young, and later became beloved on The Cosby Show and Family Matters. She had a bright presence that made scenes feel lighter, like she belonged in the center of the story. When she was diagnosed with a rare cancer, she continued fighting while still trying to live and work. She died at 30, and many fans still remember her as the sweet spark of the shows they grew up with. Her smile made even simple scenes feel warm. Number 21. Kevin Clark. Kevin played drummer Freddie in School of Rock, and he was instantly convincing, like a real kid who had lived inside that music. Even though he did not keep acting much afterward, that one performance became a permanent favorite for people who loved that film. He grew up into a working musician, still connected to the thing that made him famous. He died at 32 in an accident, and the cast's grief felt like ours. Number 22. Anissa Jones. Anissa became famous as Buffy on Family Affair, the adorable little sister figure America wanted to protect. But childhood fame can be a strange trap, especially when the roles stop and the attention disappears. She stepped away from acting and tried to live a normal life, yet the transition was rough. She died at 18 from an overdose, a reminder that being loved by millions does not guarantee safety. Number 23. Dana Hill. Dana was that rare child actor who could steal a scene with pure timing. Many people remember her voice work, including playing Max Goof, and her live-action roles in 1980s favorites. Behind the fun, she lived with type 1 diabetes and serious complications that took a heavy toll. She died at 32 after a diabetic coma and stroke. Her story shows how quickly health can override talent and plans. Number 24. Dominique Dunne. Dominique had a gentle, natural screen presence, and Poltergeist introduced her to audiences who expected to see much more. She was only 22 when she was murdered in an act of domestic violence. The tragedy shook Hollywood, but it also sparked painful conversations about how often warning signs are ignored. Remembering her is not just about a role, it is about a young woman whose life should have continued. Number 25. Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca felt like the next big thing, warm enough for sitcoms and serious enough for films. My Sister Sam made her a familiar face, and her career was clearly rising. Then she was murdered at 21 by a stalker, a crime that horrified the public and changed how the industry thinks about privacy and protection. It is hard to hear her name without thinking about how preventable it all felt. Number 26. Bridget Anderson. Bridget captured hearts as a child star in Savannah Smiles, and she seemed set for a long career. But as happens to many young performers, the opportunities slowed, and the pressure of finding your place can become overwhelming. Her struggles grew as she got older, and the world was not gentle about it. She died at 21 from an overdose, leaving behind one of those stories that feels like a warning written in tears. Number 27. Sammy Kane Kraft. Sammy was bright, athletic, and full of personality in the Bad News Bears remake. She was also pushing herself beyond acting, competing in sports and exploring music, like she was building a life with multiple dreams. Her death at 20 in a car crash was sudden and cruel. It reminded fans that you do not need decades in the spotlight to leave a mark, you just need one role that people remember. Number 28. John Paul Stohr. John Paul played a son on Grace Under Fire, and many viewers still remember his face even if they have not watched the show in years. After leaving acting, he tried to reinvent himself, including working in music and later focusing on a different career path. Sometimes the hardest part is being known for something you did before you even understood yourself. He died at 33, and his story reflects how complicated the afterlife of fame can be. Number 29. Christopher Pettiott. Christopher appeared in projects like The Young Riders and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and he carried that 1990s teen star energy that fans still love. For a while it looked like he would keep building, one role at a time. But substance issues can quietly wreck momentum, even when talent is obvious. He died at 24 from the effects of multiple substances, leaving behind a career that feels interrupted mid-sentence. Number 30. Nikita Pearl Waligwa. Nikita was a young Ugandan actress who appeared in Queen of Katwe, and her performance added warmth and humor to a story built on hope. Not long after, she faced a battle no teenager should have to fight, undergoing treatment for a brain tumor. Her fight lasted years, which shows a kind of strength most adults never have to summon. She died at 15, and her short life still inspires people who saw her smile on screen. Always remembered.